We're in the woods again. The day is ending, night is falling. Ooh, spooky. Yeah, beautiful. The woods are beautiful at this time. By the way, someone sent me an email saying that these are not the ancient Celtic woods. Of course I know they're not the ancient Celtic woods. These are trees that have been planted in the last 30 or 40 years to drain the land here. It doesn't matter. This one isn't too sterile. I know when they're planted close together they are very sterile, but this one isn't too bad because there's plenty of gaps in it. There's also deciduous growth over there and over there, and I've seen badgers and foxes and squirrels and everything running through here, so sorry, this is not a wasteland. A woods is a woods. Yeah, there's some better than others. This just happens to be close to where I live. That's why I use it. I still like it here. I still find it quite calming. Anyway, the Dogon achieved interstellar travel. Yes, you may say, huh, ancient aliens? No, I say, ancient humans. You see, the Dogon tribe of West Africa are probably one of the most remarkable people on this planet. One of the most remarkable pagan tribes this earth has ever produced. And they have been hunted to extinction by Islam for about 1,000 years. They are almost extinct and we're about to lose them. And we're about to lose them to the Abrahamics, to the Muslims, in the same way the Muslims hunted down the Dogons, in the same way the Christians hunted down the Druids. It's all about killing the ancient knowledge and the ancient truth of our origins, which are not biblical. Now, what do we know about the Dogons for sure? Well, if you read the book from the 1980s, I think it was called The Serious Mystery by Robert Temple, don't quote me on that. Fantastic book back in the day. He proved conclusively that the Dogon tribe of West Africa were aware that Sirius had a B star, a star orbiting it, in a particular orbit, a very distinct orbit, elliptical but off-center. And it was what the Dogon had said was that Sirius was it was a binary star, and this is its elliptical orbit, and we have been there. We have been there. Now, that the argument against that is the Dogon were making a lucky guess. I doubt it. The other argument is, and it's not a bad one, is that at some point in the past, Sirius B, or the Sirius binary, went supernova and it was visible from Earth. That doesn't work either unless you have a high-powered telescope, because it would only appear, because it's so far away, even though it's a close star to Earth, it would only appear as an extra bright Sirius. That's what it would appear as. It would not. It's too far away for us to see the distinction between the elliptical orbit of Sirius B and Sirius Major itself. Now is where it gets really interesting. You know me, I have no time for this ancient aliens. I've no time. Eric von Daniken was a complete fraudster, bullshitter. The same with Zacharias Sitchin and all these. The whole thing of slave species of lizards and all this crap. It's all made up. There's almost no sources to back it up. Nothing. There's no proof that aliens visited here, but however, there's proof that our people, humans, went there. And the Dogon more or less prove it, and I'll tell you how they prove this. Let's talk about their origins. The Dogon originally came from Egypt. Now, this is very interesting. This may suggest that they were not pharaonic Egyptians, but the pre-pharaonic Egyptians that built all the impressive monuments of ancient Egypt. I'm talking about the Sphinx, the Temple of Abydos, the stuff that was buried under the sand until about 100 or 200 years ago. The stuff that has hieroglyphics that are sitting as bas-reliefs, proud of the structures and columns. These are very difficult engineering things to produce, where later, the pharaonic era of ancient Egypt, the hieroglyphics are crude and they're raw. They're crude and they're raw. They're not. It's the same thing. Europe, Africa, Central America, Asia, the Orient. The further you go back in the world, the better the megaliths get, and the better the standard of execution of stone and stone working becomes. The further you go back, the better it gets. And that's just the case in Egypt as it is in Malta, Ireland, everywhere else. Now, the pre-pharaonic Egyptians were incredibly advanced. You see in the videos yourself, all over the internet, they were able to drill holes in stone. They seem to have the ability to soften stone. It just goes on and on and on. And they were transporting granite blocks from quarries 200 miles across the desert. These people had advanced technology, probably 10,000-12,000 years ago. It's highly likely that the last vestige of those people with that technology, where are they currently, what's remaining and being close and being basically being wiped out right now by Islam, the Dogon people. So when you hear people make fun of like African Americans guys going, we were Kangs and all that stuff, well, maybe they were Kangs, maybe they were. Let's forget the pharaonic Egyptians. They were light-skinned, well, brown-skinned. They were not as sub-Saharan, African people. And following from them, you had the Ptolemies, who were, white Europeans. Like Cleopatra was a white European. She was Greek. Go further back, real far back to the pre-pharaonic era, and the evidence suggests that was black people. They were African black people, sub-Saharan people, who had the highest technology of all. And I'm not saying it's just it was there, it was also in Europe, the ancient Europeans. We don't know if the Druids were capable of incredible things, or the ancient megalithic builders before them were capable of incredible things. But it's highly likely, because as you go back, there seems to be something happened, and a series of disasters, one about 12,000 years ago and another about 2500 BC. So these Dogon people, how did they know Sirius B was a binary? Well, they went there, and then you go, you mean in a spaceship? No. You see, this is the fundamental mistake that people who are interested in aliens and UFOs always make. They always believe, they impose a 20th century mechanistic view upon interstellar travel. They believe, well, you have to have something like a Millennium Falcon, or an Enterprise, Star Trek, Star Wars, Buck Rogers, and they Buck Rogers the entire universe. There's other ways of traveling. Shamans travel through consciousness. And this is how I believe that the ancient Dogon people reached Sirius. They transferred their consciousness through their shamanic. They're a profoundly and deeply pagan shamanic tribe. This is one of the reasons that the Islamic world hates them and wants them wiped out. And the Christians wouldn't be. That's why Carl Jung went down there and was fascinated by them. Now, let me explain what a shaman is. A shaman is not someone who took a weekend course in Glastonbury and Sedona and banged a few drums and got a certificate off a guy called, Honeysuckle Moonshadow. That's not what a shaman is. A shaman is the black sheep of the family. If you had in ancient times a black sheep of a family, someone who was different, the priest class would move them away. So the Druids would say, you have a son there, your seventh son, or your third son, or your third daughter. It was nearly always men though, and he seems to be different. He's not interested in being a farmer. Can I have him? And then they would recognize that he was a special one, and he would be the one who would be trained in shamanistic things. And they would also know that every so often this shamanic type individual would arise in a family. This is why the Druids and the Satyrs kept phenomenal genealogy records of people within the tribe and within the grouping. And the Dogon and everyone else, all the indigenous people from all over the world, would have done the same thing. Now, and also the shaman would have had sex with a special woman or several women who were picked for him especially. This is why women are attracted to artists and poets and mystics. They're attracted to the shaman. They want to give birth to the shaman's child. The shaman will carry the DNA, and this is why in most societies shaman and shamanic traditions are hereditary, because the DNA is activated deliberately during a kind of a sex magic ritual during the process, and that's why the genealogy, it was not because they were obsessed with bloodlines. They were desperately looking for their shaman, because the shaman was the soul, the tribal soul of the community, rather than you had the soul of the individual, and then you had the tribal soul of the community. So the shaman was picked. The shaman was, the story that they're able to leave their body and become animal spirits, but there's a super shaman that's able to leave the planet, right? And this is what they happened. They traveled, the Dogon shaman traveled through the stars as intergalactic out-of-body experiences to a level that has not been achieved since, and something that absolutely terrifies Abrahamic religions, particularly Islam and Christianity. The shaman travels And that's how they got to the stars. And that's how humans will get. We won't be building spaceships. We won't be building rockets to get to the stars. The way it'll be done will be the same way remote viewing is done. It'll be a projection of consciousness through people, gifted and trained individuals. And that's how the Dogon discovered that Sirius B was existed. They literally were the first human interstellar travelers. And that's probably because they were connected to this incredible pre-pharaonic culture of pre-ancient Egypt, going back before the Ice Age. The people who built the Sphinx, the original builders of the Sphinx. And that's it. So yes, if aliens are ever going to come here, that's how they'll do it. If we ever go to the stars, it's the only way we'll ever do it. We can never produce enough energy on this planet, or capture enough energy, unless they can find a way to process dark energy matter, to get to the stars. It's magic, it's shamanic, it's shamanism. And this is a big shout out and love out to the Dogon people of West Africa. I want everyone to, as soon as this video is over, research about the Dogon. Tell the world about the Dogon. We're about to lose probably the last pagan tribe on earth that goes right back to the earliest human beings. It doesn't matter that they're in Africa. I wouldn't care if they came from fucking, Blackburn, or Burrow and Furness. We must protect these people, because these are an indigenous people we need to protect from Islam. So get out there and spread awareness about the amazing Dogon people. And not only that, spread awareness about how they're about to be made extinct by the Mohammedans. We lost our Druids, we lost our Satyrs, we lost our Slavic shaman. But we're getting them back now, it's coming back. But it's been a long, hard journey of nearly 2,000 years. Don't let us lose the Dogon. Don't let us lose sight of how unbelievably incredible human beings are and what we're capable of. If we break the mold from mechanistic thought, Western programming, when I say Western, I mean like Western Christian, Judeo-Christian programming. I don't mean Western classical programming. That was actually we'd probably be all projecting ourselves into space today if the classical world had never been destroyed by the Christians. And this is it. We don't know how most of us don't. Well, I do, and some of you do. But most people don't know how amazing this time is. We are a seed that's about to bloom. It's not to go do with a date. It's nothing to do with anything. The signs are there all over. The world is changing rapidly. But we have to protect what we used to be, what we were meant to be, and the Dogon is part of that. And we've got to get back. We've got to learn from the Dogon to get back to what we were back in the proto-shamanic era, pre-Druidic, pre-Satyr, pre-Slavic shamanic era, and all over the world, not just Europe, everywhere. We've got to get back to it, because we've been polluted, we've been made lame, both in consciousness and psychology, spiritually very much so, and we're in a state of competition constantly. Then that's competition is great in the day-to-day living, but in terms of our spiritual development, it's not good at all. It's actually quite damaging, and our egos are so important in all this. We've got to keep our egos. This is why New Agers have no place to play in this, because their obsession with killing the ego is basically they want to kill humanity, including the Dogon. Because when a shaman goes into a shamanic state, the impetus is the application of the ego through things like ritual dancing and drumming and trances and all this kind of thing. And we've got to keep this going. So get out there and tell the world about the Dogon. Thank you.